It's a complaint we've all had at some point in our lives. Why should I be punished if someone else did basically the same thing and nothing happened? That gray area applies to the two biggest stories in sports right now: spitting in Cowboys-Eagles, and also Clippers owner Steve Ballmer allegedly violating NBA salary cap rules. Seems like a stretch, but it's not. The rules are not black and white in both situations. I'm Doug Kezirian, formerly of ESPN, and now in my 25th year of broadcasting. This is Hard Pass, also available in podcast. There may not have been a second gunman, but additional footage is providing much more context right now in the biggest NFL story. Let's start with how we saw it from the beginning. And right after the kickoff, Eagles D lineman Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott, literally on his chest right in front of a ref, and he subsequently ejected. Now, given Carter's size and position at the time, we all accepted this as just a great player doing a dumb thing in the spirit of competitive sports. Plus, I personally have a lot of latitude for guys in the trenches because of what it takes to dominate that world. This is not corporate life or HR. I'm not saying you have to have a screw loose, but you definitely need to go sometimes to dark places during the game. Either way, he was ejected for a blatant act, and that honestly, technically, by legal terms, is assault and can be considered a crime. Yes, spitting, assault, and dead serious on that one. However, later in the game, we got the full footage. As it turns out, Dak spit in the direction of Carter, which got everything started. Now, Carter is on the Dallas side of the ball before the play, so that's certainly wrong place, wrong time. However, look at Dak. He smiles right after spitting in Carter's direction. That's why I call serious BS on Dak in his post-game comments.
I was just looking at him. I was right here by the two linemen, and yes, I needed to spit, and I wasn't going to spit on my lineman. I just spit ahead, but I'd say he was back there where Jory was in that sense, and he asked, or he goes, "You trying to spit on me?" And at that point, I mean, I felt like he was insulting me. Like I wouldn't spit on somebody. I'm damn sure not trying to spit on you. Like we're about to play a game. I'm wondering why you're trying to mess with the rookie. And so when I stepped through, I actually say the words like, "What the hell would I?" Excuse me, but I'm probably even more colorful. What would I need to spit on you for? And he just spit on me in that moment.
Am I really supposed to believe that Dak Prescott was talking to his linemen and decided to casually spit over their shoulders, confident he would not catch them in the face with any debris? And that made more sense than just spitting to the ground when you're talking to them? To me, it's very simple. Dak was in the huddle and saw Jalen Carter sort of tried to intimidate his linemen, including a rookie. Again, this is before the first play of scrimmage. Dak needed to kind of diffuse the situation, but also stand up for his team. Dak is smart enough not to get a flag by walking over to Carter, hitting him in the helmet, or even pushing him to start something, knowing the refs are all around, and Carter's much bigger. So he marked his territory with a suggestive sign of disrespect, but just in a way that merely shows he's standing up for himself and his team, which is why I think Dak smiled. Carter, being 6'3", 315-pound enforcer, confronts a quarterback half his size because he's not going to take that from a QB. He's in game mode. He's in trenches mode. And then he had a brain cramp and his emotions got the best of him. Let me know your thoughts. Join the conversation. Did Dak know what he was doing all along? Was he spitting in the direction of Carter, or was he just spitting and Carter was in the vicinity? Do you take his words at face value? This is tough for me because Dak has an awesome reputation, solid dude, genuine, authentic, you name it. But it just doesn't add up once we got the video later in the game. And you can imagine the fun everyone is having on social media throughout the game, especially because we got a lightning delay and then video surfaced later. So it's time for a heat check. And I absolutely love this meme. It's at such legs. BetRivers Sportsbook. Everyone trying to look at whether or not Dak spit first. It's true. When I was putting together this video, that's what I felt like I looked like from the outside. And then a fun GIF from Josh Hart when he was back at the Pelicans. So Dak Prescott spit at Jalen Carter first. Why they ain't showing that part from the beginning? Yeah, pretty incriminating. And then a friend of mine, John Ewing, who does public relations for BetMGM, using the epic meme of Shane Gillis with his girlfriend that was a Photoshop with a video game. It's just a great backstory saying, actually, Dak spit first. Again, let us know in the comments section if you think Dak is completely innocent in football standards or he deserves some blame here. Maybe he should have been ejected. You name it. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Join the conversation. Or is Dak just kind of weaseling out of things? Speaking of weaseling out of things, for Hoop Scoop, we turn our attention to Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, who sure seems like he's trying to do just that, thanks to reporting by Pablo Torre. Now, the allegations are the Clippers owner cheated NBA rules when it came to Kawhi Leonard and the salary cap. Pablo is a former ESPN colleague of mine, solid dude, and has done a wonderful job with this investigative piece for his own show, Pablo Torre Finds Out. But this, too, has some gray area, kind of like what I was talking about with Jalen Carter, because Ballmer may have just been caught doing something that other owners have always done. Not saying that makes it right, just saying that I think that's how it went down, maybe, in Ballmer's head along the way. So let's go through this chronologically. 2019, Kawhi with the Raptors wins the title. He's finals MVP. He's even being discussed as maybe the best player in the league, and he's a free agent. Lots of speculation that the LA native would go join the Lakers, team up with LeBron. He met with the Raptors. And then throughout the process, we're hearing reports and rumblings that Kawhi's representatives, including his agent, who's his actual uncle, Dennis Robertson, Kawhi and his team asking for extra benefits, such as part ownership, guaranteed sponsorships, use of the owner's perks and toys like private planes. This explicitly is against league rules. It's called salary cap circumvention. Remember, the NBA has a salary cap, and there's a max salary a star player can make. So there's a ceiling to this. So over the years, some teams have gotten away with bending those rules, like perks may be promised money when they retire, or various things. Like I said, some of the private plane usage, things along those lines. It's widely perceived and widely reported, hush-hush sometimes, that it does go down. Not everywhere, but things of isolated incidents like this have occurred. But Uncle Dennis was pretty overt and egregious with some of the requests, not mincing words at all, like requesting more money, not just use of a private plane, in the form of sponsorship dollars. Summer of 2019, Kawhi signed with the Clippers instead of the Lakers, the Raptors, you name it. 2021, Kawhi re-signs 4 years, $173 million extension. The very next month, Clippers get a sponsorship from a company called Aspiration, $300 million. So all that fundraising, including Ballmer for $50 million, gets it done. And this company is known for climate change, plants, trees, and the new arena, the Intuit Dome, almost was named Aspiration. So Ballmer allegedly thinks this company's legit. 2 months later in November, Ballmer introduces Kawhi to the Aspiration reps. Now, he's allowed to make an introduction under league rules. He just has to step away at that point. He can't pressure a company to do anything. But keep in mind, this is a company Ballmer invested $50 million in. Was it quid pro quo, meaning I'm investing this money, but only because it goes to Kawhi Leonard. So loophole, circumventing, you name it. Here's Ballmer on SportsCenter, getting to the studio and not pulling any punches.
Up front, I want to say one thing very clearly. We, the Clippers, have abided by the salary cap circumvention rules because that's the right thing to do. And we have done that. I happen, for what it's worth, to think it's a very important rule in terms of promoting competitiveness and equal playing field across the league. But whether I agreed with it or not, it's the rule. And we've absolutely abided by that.
Now, according to Pablo Torre, other celebrities were also sponsored. Leo DiCaprio, Drake, Cindy Crawford, handful of others. But Kawhi got $28 million from Aspiration, more than 4 times all the other celebs combined. Plus, it later surfaced that Kawhi got $20 million worth of stock. So that's a total of $48 million, and Ballmer invested $50. Could be coincidence. Keep in mind, also on top of all this, these jobs are called no-show jobs. They don't have to do anything for the endorsement money. No commercials, no marketing, just slap your name on something. So all of this sure looks like salary cap circumventing.
If I'm the Clippers, how do I get deniability?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because typically, there's this funny phrase in courtrooms. You hear like, The absence of evidence is not evidence. Well, in this case, he was endorsing a company. And the absence of evidence is the absence of any endorsement. No tweets, no retweets, no favorites, no likes, no appearances, no nothing. According to the internet, according to the sources we have, nothing. And so the absence of evidence happens to be, in this very narrow but meaningful way, the evidence. No, it's a great question. Like, it's not even that he had to do anything, right? Because the contract he signed, again, he fulfilled the terms of the contract, which said he didn't have to do anything. Really, what I'm saying is, if they had just announced it, would this have been less suspicious?
Now, fast forward to 2 weeks ago, Aspiration co-founder pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud and defrauding investors. The Department of Justice and SEC have investigated the situation. This is major stuff, right? So this is where it all comes to fruition and truly incriminates Clippers owner Steve Ballmer.
Uncle Dennis was calling, as the company was declining and unable to pay its bills, was calling saying, pay us. And inside of Aspiration, what is very clear is that the number one priority, that is a quote, the number one priority for this collapsing fake green bank was you got to pay Kawhi Leonard. As bankruptcy was on the horizon, as no one could pay their bills, as no one else was getting paid, Kawhi was getting paid. And the question I ask you is, why was he priority number one for doing nothing at a company that could not pay its bills? It would seem that there was some influence from behind the scenes.
All right, just to recap, Ballmer invests $50 million in a company. And keep in mind, a guy with that kind of clout, just his name being involved, got other rich people to put in money and invest. That company pays Kawhi Leonard $48 million with a salary and stock, and under the most dire circumstances, while going bankrupt and being investigated by federal authorities, make sure that Kawhi gets paid. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Feels like a cover-up. Ballmer did say he too is in the dark on this shady company.
I don't know why they did what they did, and I don't know how different it is. I really don't. And frankly, any speculation would be crazy. These were guys who committed fraud. How would I be able? Look, they conned me.
You're one of the richest men in America.
They conned me. I made an investment in these guys thinking it was on the up and up, and they conned me.
Now, another layer to this, Ballmer is the 6th richest person in the entire world. Richest owner of any sport, okay? He's uber competitive, as we know from his behavior courtside at Clippers games. Super intense. He wants it badly. He took over the Clippers. They're absolutely a forgotten team in LA, not even the little brother or the redheaded stepchild, much lower on the totem pole. The Lakers run the LA and they have LeBron. So are we to assume, really, this guy who's succeeded his entire life, super driven, more money than God, and wants to win so badly, refused to bend the rules that so many other owners have done throughout the years? Maybe Ballmer is that principal and I'm wrong, and obviously he's vehemently denying it. But much like Jalen Carter, it would make sense given what others are doing. Let me know your thoughts. Am I jumping the gun? Am I putting the cart before the horse? Am I too crazy here? I mean, he obviously went on SportsCenter when all this surfaced and vehemently denied it. Or is this par for the course in the NBA and that every team is doing a version of this? On that note, time for a heat check and a couple doozies here. First one from Real NBA Memes. Kawhi showing up to collect his tree planting check every quarter. And this was an image from when Intuit Dome. And really funny stuff, Kawhi, in that world. Sopranos world on X. This was a very memorable episode and scene. Kawhi and Steve Ballmer showing Pablo Torre all the trees they planted. Right, trying to get rid of Pablo, who's blowing the whistle, so to speak. Anthony Irwin, who's a Lakers insider, so to speak. Ballmer doesn't get to consistently call himself a visionary, then also play dumb when it suits him. But look, sometimes even the sharpest guys get hoodwinked, so to speak, and that's what Ballmer was saying. He was conned. Now, the NBA is obviously investigating. I highly doubt this is just going to blow away, right? The truth is going to come out. And maybe Ballmer did get conned, and he's completely innocent and will get exonerated. But I'm also quite confident that Pablo Torre, who shared that he has 7 sources on record. One interview even had to be voice modulated because of federal authorities. He's done his due diligence as well. Time now for Fans in the Stands, and this is when we respond to the comments in the YouTube comments section, and it's our audience, our fans in the stand. And of course, as a reminder to please like and subscribe to the show. It's our currency in this YouTube world, so we really appreciate it. And get involved in the conversation. Let us know your thoughts, things you like, things you dislike, random questions, you name it. We will respond like we did a naming contest for a new segment. That was a lot of fun. Again, get involved, reach out. First comment is from 7th Son 6485. I am here for the comments. Don't disappoint. Now, there were two topics. It could be about Jerry Jones and the trade with Micah Parsons from the Cowboys to the Packers, or the Michael Porter Jr. latest podcast appearance where he talks about how a high school all-star game, the McDonald's All-Americans, boys McDonald's All-Americans could beat the women's Olympic team in basketball. So maybe that's what he was going for. I don't know. If it's the Micah Parsons stuff, I stand by it. It was the right trade for Dallas. They played well in the opener, but they're not going to win the Super Bowl. You can't pay him that much. I think they overpaid for CeeDee Lamb, who's elite, but I would spend my money at other positions because I think receivers, it's more about construction of offense and a quarterback. For Womp said at the 7-minute mark, they are wanting to be treated like they're great at basketball. They are not. And this was in response to the Michael Porter comments. We need to stop doing this. I don't think the women think they're the world's best basketball players, like better than all the NBA players. It's just not about that. That's like it's basically a no-fly zone. You don't have to diminish someone else's success. For example, when someone wins the Final Four, the national championship in men's basketball, you don't say, well, the Lakers are better. It's just silly to do that. I mentioned Serena when she was dominating women's tennis. People would always try to dismiss her accomplishments by saying, well, the 200th best men's player could beat her. That's not the point. So with the women, it's not about comparing. Don't live in the hypotheticals. It's just not a relevant topic. Like, I do love discussing hypotheticals when it comes to sports. Like, we obviously love Jordan versus LeBron. Larry Bird playing in this era has gotten some run on social media and YouTube. I get it. Those are fun conversations, but it's the women's players just want to be treated within their own sort of bubble, and they are professionals and they want to be treated as such. And they have leverage now with their negotiation with the collective bargaining agreement that's going to maybe lead to a lockout. We shall see. But it's important to realize it's not about trying to find the level of boys or men's basketball that can beat them. That's not the topic to be discussed. And that's my whole point, is Michael Porter Jr.'s appearance on that podcast on TikTok, I believe it was. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Hard Pass. We so appreciate everyone. Again, get involved in the conversation. Let us know your thoughts. We obviously dug deep here with the Spitgate in the NFL opener and also what's going on with the Clippers, particularly owner Steve Ballmer and their superstar Kawhi Leonard.